What's up, guys, and welcome to my review of the latest horror film out of A24 from director Mark Anthony Green, Opus. This film tells the story of a young writer who, along with a small group of reporters and journalists, is invited to a remote commune in Utah by a legendary pop artist who has just re-emerged after a 27-year disappearance to listen to his new album. And as the weekend progresses, she starts to realize there is something strange about their charismatic host and his followers, and starts to discover the true and sinister nature of their visit. Now, this movie wasn't necessarily high on my list in terms of anticipation or excitement because I had heard some details about this last year, but nothing too crazy or specific, so I quickly forgot about it, and I actually didn't rediscover this film until I saw that its release date was approaching a couple weeks ago. And I had to discover that on my own because, for whatever reason, A24 does not seem to be putting any marketing efforts into this movie. I haven't seen a trailer or a poster or anything. A24 can be very divisive, especially in the horror community. People either love or hate their style and brand of horror. Me personally, I'm typically a big fan of what they do, and I also enjoy a lot of films in this cult subgenre of horror. So even though I wasn't on the edge of my seat in terms of excitement for this movie, going into the theater, I had a lot of intrigue and I was optimistic. But now that I've seen Opus, what did I think about it? Is this another under the radar A24 gem, or was it a rare time where one of their projects just didn't land for me? Let's get into it. But before that, if while you're here, you go ahead and give the video a like and subscribe to the channel as well, I would greatly appreciate it. Make sure to get down in the comments and let me know any thoughts you have on Opus or just A24 horror movies in general. I'd love to read your guys' thoughts and opinions. Now let's start the review. Starting with the positives, and I think by far the best thing about this movie is the performance from John Malkovich. He's one of those actors that I feel is just good no matter what role he takes, and in a funny way, it almost makes it hard for him to impress you because you just expect him to deliver a stellar performance, and that's exactly what he does in this film. Him as this larger-than-life musical icon cult leader was so fun to watch. You know, he's charming, charismatic, flamboyant, funny, all while still making you kind of feel uneasy about him, and those are all traits that I feel like a character of this style definitely needs in order to be effective. As a massive true crime fan, I've read a lot of books and watched a lot of documentaries on famous cults, and they all have one thing in common. They all have these captivating leaders who are able to draw people in and mask the darker sides of themselves with the brighter parts of their personalities so that they can manipulate and take advantage those loyal to them without them fully realizing it. And I think John Malkovich fully succeeds at depicting that in this role, and so by far, he and his character were the best part of this film. I also really enjoyed the music in this movie. Being that John Malkovich is playing a pop star, they had to create some original works for his character, and John Malkovich is actually the one performing these songs in the recording, so that's another thing I have to commend him for. There's another layer to this very impressive performance that he gives, but these songs are absolute bangers, so really just shout out to the whole music team in general because they do a really good job. I'll probably listen to these songs just driving around in my car, and that's rare. I typically don't listen to music from movies outside of the movie experience, so big shout out to them. I really enjoyed that aspect of Opus. Visually, this movie is very beautiful. You know, that never seems to be an issue for films coming out of A24. Love them or hate them, they got a very distinct style and always manage to pop and stand out visually. You know an A24 movie when you see one, and that continues to be the case here with Opus. They got a great blend of beautiful Utah scenery with some splashy colors thrown in, and it all comes together to create an aesthetic that was very pleasing to the eye. Moving on to the negatives now, and I would say that this film's biggest issue is just how familiar it all felt. We have had a lot of films like this over the years, dating back to like the original Wicker Man and more recently Midsummer, but I feel like Opus failed to do a lot of the things that films like those did to really stand out and be special. These kind of movies are built on atmosphere and a growing feeling of uneasiness, and it's clear through our main character's actions and reactions that we are supposed to be joining her in these feelings of uneasiness and anxiousness. But in my opinion, the movie never got weird enough or violent enough or take any distinct direction enough for me to get on board with how she was feeling, and so I felt very detached from the main character. If anything, I related more to the side characters who are just having the time of their life because outside of a few quirks and oddness about these people, nothing weird enough has really happened for me to understand why anyone, including us, should be freaking out while watching this movie. And anytime this film did do something effective, it just felt like they were pulling right out of the Midsummer playbook. It's funny, while I was watching this, I kept thinking that this is the movie that's made for people who feel that A24 maybe gets a little too weird for their taste. They want a more straightforward narrative. And so I do think there is an audience for this film because I will say it is one of the more easier and casual viewing experiences I've had of an A24 movie. And so a lot of people may like that it's not what we're typically accustomed to out of A24 horror, but for me, I needed a lot of those things that we usually get so that this film didn't feel as lackluster as it did. It fails to establish that core vibe or feel that I think is absolutely necessary for a film within the cult horror subgenre to have, while also failing to do anything original to stand out amongst the mediocrity that may reside in that space. And so what you have here is a movie that may be superficially entertaining. I don't think there was anything under the hood that will stick with viewers like myself for any substantial amount of time. So there you guys have it. Those are my thoughts on Opus. This movie is fine. You know, I think the John Malkovich performance really carries it. And I think for that alone, it's worth at least streaming once it's available. But it's definitely not a movie I think you need to run out to the theaters for. And I see why A24 hasn't really given this movie a big marketing push. For the score, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. It doesn't do anything awful, but it doesn't do anything great either. It's just a harmless, okay, kind of dumbed down A24 cult movie that I think at best will satisfy some viewers and at worst mildly disappoint others. I don't see anybody loving or hating this film because I don't think it does anything to warrant that strong of reactions. It's just a middle of the road film in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think about Opus down in the comments below. Make sure that while you're here to like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. I'll see you all in the next review. Peace.